Eucharistic mission, an examination of some of the ways that we can get to know Jesus better, to get closer to Him, to please Him more, and to imitate Him so as to please our Father. And then when we do those things, we bless everybody around us. We're going to have 4 talks in the next 4 days. The first one, tonight's talk, is called Fear Not. And it's an attempt by me to rehabilitate the idea, the concept, and the virtue, and the gift of the Holy Spirit called fear of the Lord, fear of God. Because it's taken a lot of shots for a while, for a few generations at least. And we'll see what fear of the Lord means. Two things mainly. Both are good. One's immature, one's mature. And how they're supposed to lead fear of the Lord, both the immature one and the mature one, to love. So eventually the fear disappears. Tomorrow our talk's entitled Best Friend. And it's going to be a little sketch, a little glance at what it means to be a best friend. Especially from God's point of view, from Jesus' point of view. And I'm going to give you a few little pointers and helps I got from some 5th graders a few years ago. On Tuesday, our talk is entitled Watch 1 Hour. And I'll begin with a little quick history of worship of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, the Holy Hour. And then I'm going to give you 3 elements of the attitude of somebody who is praying to Jesus in quiet, in your own soul, in your own room. Praying in the sense that there's all kinds of prayer. Asking for stuff, which is the most, because we're so needy, it's usually the most natural kind of prayer for it. As a matter of fact, the English word pray originally meant ask for. And then finally, on Wednesday night, our talk is entitled The Rockies. And it's about the theology of the Blessed Sacrament, of the Holy Eucharist, that which is the sacrament that when we receive it, we call it communion, because it makes one. It makes us one with God and one with each other. But this sacrament is all about union and uniting. Always is divisive. Always. Now, how can that be? Well, we'll see. I'm going to begin. Please remain seated. I'm going to give you some readings this week. And even if it's the gospel, just remain seated. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Glory to the Lord. I tell you, my friends, fear not those who kill the body, and after that can do no more. But I will show you whom you should fear. Fear him who, after killing the body, has power to cast you into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 cents? Yet not one of them is forgotten by God. Indeed, the very hairs of your head have all been counted. And so, do not be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. I tell you, whoever acknowledges me before men, the Son of Man will acknowledge him before his Father. But he who disowns me before men will be disowned before the angels of God. And so, little flock, fear not, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Okay, just a little bit about fear, generally. Fear gets a bad rap all around in our culture. And for good reasons. People do some terrible things behind fear, with fear as a motive. Because fear is a powerful human engine of action and reaction. But we have to get the whole picture. And we probably only have pieces of it. And I can't give it all to you in one short talk. But first of all, fear is an emotion. And it's what the Greeks call. Once in a while I'll be resorting to the Greeks. That usually will mean Aristotle, sometimes Plato. Why? Well, because they were pretty smart, and they came up with some good ideas about human nature, about even a little bit about God, just from their reason. And because they helped to form the philosophy, the worldview of the early Christian world, the early pagan world, and the Christians, those pagans that became Christians. And they said, and this again is mainly Aristotle, he'll be my default philosopher, that all passions or emotions, feelings, all the same thing, passion, emotion, feeling, all of them stem from two complementary primary passions, what they called the natural passions. And those complementary passions are joy and sorrow, and hope and fear. And if you think about it a little, you can see that that's pretty counter. So if they are primary, and if they're in all human beings, that means they're good. That means God put them there. And as a matter of fact, your emotions are one of the things that we share with most animals, especially the higher animals. Higher animals do get scared, like we do. And fear is a good thing. If you had no fear, you probably wouldn't make it to kindergarten, because you'd have been run over in the street, or you'd jumped off the top of the refrigerator or something. Fear is meant to keep us safe and alive. So it's a good thing. But we know that it can be abused, and we know that it can get us into trouble. Now, in what ways? Well, just in general. There are fears that are so powerful, that are so strong, that are so obsessive even, we call them phobias. A phobia is a natural fear to an extreme and unnatural and dangerous extent. For instance, probably, some of you have probably been to the Grand Canyon, I've been there. When you stand on the edge of the Grand Canyon, you look down. Maybe some of you never went to the edge. I went to it like this. Why? It's scary. I get butterflies. That's natural. Some people get that feeling, and even a stronger feeling than I had in the Grand Canyon, by getting on the second rung of a step ladder. It's called acrophobia. And there's scores of phobias. All natural fears that anybody would be scared of, but to such an extent that it's really sick, it's unhealthy, and it hurts them. Then there are irrational fears, crazy fears, paranoia. Some people can't go out between noon and 1 in the afternoon because that's when the CIA is beaming stuff into their brain, or the Venusians or something. And we laugh, you know. It's not a laugh for people that have this kind of thing. That's a fear that's based on fantasy, unreality. These are real fears. They cripple people. So there's extreme fears, which are not healthy. Just don't help us. They don't keep us alive. They're almost killing us sometimes. And then there's crazy, out of control fears, paranoia. And there's all sorts of other ones. And even natural fears can be a problem for us. So, why fear the Lord? I can think of it twice in my life. Once when I was young, when I was a teenager or early 20s. Twice hearing a priest preach from the ambo that if you think about fear of the Lord, fear of God, remember that that's always an Old Testament thing. That's when they didn't understand God. When they just saw God as the lawgiver and the judge and the punisher. He's going to get you. Christians should not have fear of the Lord. Wrong, Father. Just a little bit about fear in our tradition. In our tradition, I'm talking about the tradition that we inherited and then completed when Jesus came from the Old Testament, from the Israelites, from the Jews. If you look at the Bible concordance and you look up fear of the Lord or fear of God, you're going to see page after page of reference. Just a few. From the Psalms. To fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. You see a variation of that many times, especially in the wisdom literature, which means Psalms, Proverbs, Song of Solomon or Song of Songs, Ecclesiastes. Happy the man who fears the Lord. Does that sound like American Christians to you? Do you combine happy and fear together? It's not us, but it was our fathers in the faith. And not just the Old Testament, But most of Christianity, you've taught the fathers of the church, East and West, talk about fear of the Lord the way the Old Testament prophets did, and the Old Testament inspired writers. This is God speaking, the prophet. This is Isaiah. This is the man whom I approve, the humble and contrite man, who trembles to hear my word. Here's something that made it real personal to me. The reason I wrote this talk is because a dozen years ago, when they first put me on the mission band, I was very full of fear. Like I said, right stuff, will I sound smart? Will I sound holy? All my fear was about my image. And of course a little bit was, I want to do you good service too. But mainly it was about, I didn't want to sound like an idiot. So I started to research these things. And one of the things I saw was this idea of fear of the Lord had been sort of evaporated out of our tradition. And especially what I'm going to build to is the fear that we call reverence. Fear of God. It's what we call reverence usually, or awe sometimes. And this was pointed out to me by a friend. I was working in a Catholic bookstore. This is just before I entered religion, and I was going to school and working at night in a friend's Catholic goods store. And my friend Debbie came in, and I would put something in the cap. Just, hi Debbie, I said, get you with you in a minute. She said, that's all right, I got to look for some stuff. So it's a little tiny bookstore. She's wandered around. She wandered around the thing. It took her about 3 minutes to go around the whole place. And this was back about 20-some years ago. It was around the time that angels were red hot in art and culture. Michael Landon had the angel show. What was that called? Something Heaven? No, Touched by an Angel was another one. So Michael Landon one? Okay, that's it, yeah. And also in our store, we had angel coloring books, we had angel statues, we had angel calendars, we had angel everything. Devil stuff too, but mainly holy angels. Anyway, Debbie came up to me and she said, you got enough angels? I said, we got them all. And she said, I don't see any fear not angels. And I said, what? She said, I looked, I don't see any fear not angels. I said, we got Tonini. I said, we got Precious Moments. I said, you look, it's in here somewhere. She goes, no, I look, there's no fear not angels. I said, what kind? She said, fear not. I said, what's that? Who makes them? She said, real angels. She said, didn't you ever notice whenever an angel shows up in the Bible, what's the first thing they say? Fear not. Maybe they don't say it like that. Because that's scary. But her point was, angels are not naked babies with pink cheeks and little white half wings on their shoulders, and they're not gorgeous, almost sissy-looking guys, you know, with blonde hair and big shorts. What are they? They're scary. Now, angels are creatures like us. And if to be in the presence of an angel, remember this is not when they show up to the evil king or the evil pharaoh or the false prophet. This is when they show up to prophets, God's servants, to priests, to holy men, to holy kings, to the mother of God. What's the first thing they say, including to Mary? What's she got to be afraid of? Gabriel said, do not be afraid, Mary. Why? Because she was scared. Why? Holiness is scary. And if a creature who's holy is scary, what must it be to be in the presence of the living God? Are you scared? If you're not, something's probably a little off. Now, fear is good. It's healthy and natural. It can be abused, and it's because we're born in original sin and born with all kinds of trash in our gene package, and we get all kinds of damage coming up. We have a lot of unreasonable fears and a lot of things. We don't handle fear well. And we fear things that we shouldn't, and we're not afraid of things that we should be afraid of. That's just natural. But then this supernatural fear, which is, you know, the gifts of the Holy Spirit. Remember when you were getting ready for confirmation? There's 7 of them, and they're in a hierarchy. The top one, the highest one, wisdom, and then understanding, and then knowledge, counsel, piety, fortitude. And what's at the bottom, what's at the base, as it says here, as it says in the Old Testament, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Fear of the Lord. It's very basic. And we have in our tradition two types. And I won't give you much jargon, I'll give you a little bit because it's helpful a little bit. The two types we have in our Catholic tradition are servile fear and filial fear. Servile comes from the Latin word servus, which means slave. And why would a slave obey a master that he doesn't like? He doesn't want to get whipped. He doesn't want to get his ration taken away, made to sleep in the barn, some kind of punishment. Fear of punishment, a slave's fear, is good and it's healthy. So if you do what God wants, if you obey the commandments, even the ones you're tempted to break, and you don't, because you don't want to go to hell, or you don't want to go to purgatory even, that is good. It's not the best. It's immature. It's like a little one, when you're disciplining your kids, you can tell your 10-year-old to do something, and when he or she says, why? You can give them an explanation, say here's the good of it, and here's what. But when it's an 18-month-old, and he's trying to put his finger in the light socket, or in the plug, in the wall, and you say no, and he just blows you off. Why? Because you're mad? Because you hate him? No. Because you love him and don't want him to take 110 volts. It's a portion of where you are. So when your self, your soul, and your humanity is still being formed, fear is a good tool. Fear of punishment. That's okay. We're supposed to grow out of it into filial fear. What's filial? Filius is son. Filia is daughter in Latin. And why would a son, whose buddies come over to him as a teenage boy, Johnny, and his buddies say, this weekend we're going to the beach, we're going to do this, we're going to blah, blah, all this party stuff. And he says, I can't, my dad's out of town, and I got to do the lawns and everything, I got to take care of it. And they go, what are you, a wuss? Come on, we're going. And he goes, no. And he doesn't he takes the grief from his buddies. Why? Because he knows his dad's going to punish him if he doesn't do the lawns. Sometimes dad didn't even tell him to do the lawns. And the dad's going to wait for a week and a half. And he loves his dad. But there's fear too. What fear? The dad's going to punish him? No. He loves and respects his dad, and he doesn't want to see disappointment in dad's eyes when he comes home and sees the mess in the front yard. And he'll even take grief from his buddies, from his peers, because of that. Or Ashley, when her girlfriend say, we're going to the mall, pick you up, no, can't. What are you doing? Help my mom clean the house. Helping your mom clean the house? She's got 2 hands, we'll pick you up the 3. No, sorry, I can't. Why? Is her mom going to punish her? No. Ashley loves her mom. And she's had visitors this week, she's got double work. Ashley's going to stay around and help. Why? Because she loves her mom and she wants to help. But also there's that fear, which is filial fear. I don't want to let mom down. I don't want to disappoint her. I'm going to go beyond what I'm just told to do in the rules. This is filial fear. This is the fear we're supposed to have. Now part of this filial fear is what we call reverence. Reverence is the fear that's based on love that we owe, especially to God, but belong because of God, also to holy people and holy things, like the Pope, like the Bishop, like your pastor, like a nun, like mom or dad, like grandma, grandpa. People that have special status, either because they're related to God as in His church or in the family. So it's more than just, I like you, or I love you. It's a fear. Now, this is the main reason I wrote these talks. What and probably I'm not the only one here, have no especially among the oldies. If you're not old, if you're not at least 50-ish or older, you may not know what I'm talking about. But there was a time when you came into a Catholic church, and it didn't matter if there was nobody in there or several hundred people in there. It was quiet. What was that? That was fear of the Lord. A fear called reverence. Now most Catholic churches, most of the time, are more like a Protestant meeting house, which is fine if it's just a meeting house. But we have God present here. One of the things that we show our love and our love-filled fear, reverence, is for consideration of other people, that they may actually be praying while we're chatting. Shut up. Be quiet. That used to be no longer, but I'm not, as I say, like one of those old suckers that says, boy, the people were saints in the 50s, and no, they weren't. But some things we hadn't lost yet, and fear of the Lord and reverence was one. And again, it might have been hypocritical. These people that were all quiet in church, they may have been going to hell, or some of them. But at least it was a social thing. It was understood. And it was expected. So if somebody got chatty or loud, somebody would at least go, now, is that a Christian thing to do? Sometimes. But better, you be reverent. And you won't have to give anybody a hard look and go, shh, I'm trying to pray. No, make sure you're busy praying. Make sure you're aware you're in God's house. This isn't like the theater or the library, which, by the way, in those places, if you're loud, somebody will tell you to shut up or leave the theater, get out of the library. That's one little thing. And it's like, and my hope is that someday all the churches will be quiet. No. And there's time to be loud, there's time to rejoice and sing in church. But it's a different kind of place. And you show reverence for other people and for God by your silence. And dressing properly, when you get into that. Well, one reason is, I've tried this at various times, and I found that American Catholic women do not know what modesty means. All men know what modesty means, but women don't. So I don't even get into it. But there's a way to, let's just say this, there's a way to dress in church. And it's different than when you're on the playground, than when you're in the kitchen, and when you're at the job. You dress up. Not to show off and look how gorgeous my outfit is, look how swell my suit is, but because it's special. I'm going out of my way to do something a little bit better, a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner for God, for Jesus. Not that I'll be noticed. These things are all part of reverence. It's little things. And how do you get reverence if you don't have it already? Fake it. I'm a great believer in faking it until you make it. If you don't know what you do, like anytime you're like the first day in school, kindergarten. I remember one night when they said you're gonna, after an hour, we're gonna have graham crackers and milk. I didn't like graham crackers, and I didn't like tepid milk, but everybody's doing it, so I did. That's how you learn to do stuff. New school, new job, new neighborhood, new church. You look around, what's everybody doing? Fit in. So what does that mean? What are the little things you do if you're going to be a reverent Catholic? When you come into church, there's holy water back there. Take 3 extra seconds to actually touch the holy water and make the sign of the cross. Like this. Take the time, and you don't do it to show off. Watch this. No, this is about you and God. And if somebody notices it, fine. You don't care about that. You don't think about that. When you genuflect, don't do one of these. Or if you genuflect, well, some people don't even know what a genuflection is. Now, if you physically do it, some of us have arthritis and bad legs, everything. Do what you can. But if you can, let your knee actually touch the ground. Well, what's that? Is that a big thing? No, but the big things in life are all little things. Why? Because that's all life is made of, a bunch of little things. These things will begin to teach you. Your body will start teaching you by doing these things. Teach your heart. If you just say, I'm going to be more reverent. Now, you do the little things, and your body, and these little habits of repeating these habits, start to remind you, oh, I'm in God's house. This is a different kind of place. Now, a little bit about why fear of the Lord, and fear generally, especially fear of the Lord, has got a bad rap. I'm going to read you a little bit of this first letter of St. John. As I've heard priests and teachers say, as a rationale for losing fear of the Lord, because it's unhealthy. That was in the old days, that's all they knew. Now it's love, not fear. This is what John says. And when John says this, that means the Holy Spirit's saying it. This is 1 John 4. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in him. In this way, love is made complete among us, so that we will have confidence on the day of judgment. Because in this world, we are like him. There is no fear in love. But perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not yet made perfect in love. They read that, and they go, there it is. Fear was from the Old Testament. The Holy Spirit in John as I know I'm tempted to this sometimes, and a lot of commentators and preachers that back up their theses with scripture, they proof text, which means they're looking for the stuff that backs them up, and anything else they ignore. When people say there's no fear in love, excuse me, read the whole thing. Perfect love drives out fear, and the one who fears is not yet made perfect. I'm not a perfect lover. I need some fear. Very healthy for me to have some fear. Even servile fear. He's going to punish me for my sins. That's healthy and good for me to remember. And it leads to love. It can. It doesn't necessarily mean you can be paralyzed with fear. Some people think of God only as the judge and the jailer, and he's just waiting to get them. And that's a sickness. And they need help, and they need prayers, and they need to make some adjustments in what they do and what they think, as far as they can. Sometimes it's a neurosis and there's not a whole lot you can do about it, barring a miracle, which Jesus will often provide. But we're supposed to get to the point, beyond the immature point, like the baby that, only stays away from the electrical socket because he doesn't want to get that. We should get beyond that. And then we should get to the point where the fear is only reverence and don't want to see disappointment, don't want to hurt God, don't want to let down God, don't want to offend God. That's why I'm not sinning. I'm tempted. I'm not even thinking about hell. I just don't want to offend Him again. I heard Him so many times with this ugly sin. I'm not going to do it this time. That's healthier than just because I'll go to hell or I'll go to purgatory. The first one's okay, but it's immature. Until you get to the point where you're like the saints. And we've read some of the stories of the saints, especially the martyrs, but any saint, because every saint's a martyr. The word martyr comes from Greek martyres, which means witness. And you don't get into heaven unless you're a witness for Jesus. And that means you're being tested. And sometimes that witness is to the point of blood, your blood being shed. Read how many times, read the stories of the martyrs in the Flaming Amphitheater in Rome. They used to use us to light the games at night and cover us with pitch, tar, and set us on fire so they could watch the games. They threw us to lions. That was just in Rome, all over the world. St. Paul Miki and his companions, when they were crucified in Nagasaki, they were singing. They were singing hymns together. They were encouraging each other. They're being tortured to death in horrible physical pain. And they're happy. They're blessing the people that are torturing them. One of my favorites, some of you I know love her, little Therese of Lisieux, Teresa Little Flower. When she was dying, the last 6 months of her life, she had TB and it got really bad the last few months. Until she's literally coughing up her lungs. Her lungs are disintegrating. And she can hardly get a breath. Plus, she's in a terrible dark night. Jesus is not consoling her. He's not, as far as she can feel, he doesn't care. He's nowhere near her. So all this is going on, and her sister Pauline comes in to see her, and she's watching her. Her eyes closed. She can see she's suffering, and she can see she's praying. And she says, Therese, yes, little mother. She says, aren't you at least a little afraid now? Now remember, if you know anything about Therese, Therese was neurotic. She was a prisoner of fear all of her youth. She couldn't go to school. She ran home from kindergarten. She could only be with her family, and only certain ones in the family. She was a wreck about everything. So this was a person owned by all sorts of fears. And then she got past it by cooperating with grace. And then she got so tough, nothing bothered her. She wasn't afraid of the devil. She wasn't afraid of other people. She used to be scared that it would make her go clean the loft out where the spider webs were. When she first got into the convent. Now none of that stuff bothered her. She got to the point to where even she wasn't afraid to judge. Jesus, they used to call Jesus, the Martin girls, there was 4 of them, and a cousin, all in the same Carmel in Lisieux. They used to call him the thief, because he's promised that when he came, he'd come like a thief in the middle of the night. He wouldn't be ready. Or you might not be ready unless you were ready all the time. So she said, aren't you afraid of the thief coming? And she goes, little mother, what can you mean? How can I be afraid of someone who loved me so much? Now, if I said that, there'd be more than a little bit of presumption in it, because I'm still holding on to too many preachers and sins. Not moral sins anymore, I hope. But she had gotten past sin, and now nothing scared her. That's what you get to. That's what John's talking about. When you're so grown up and you're so loving, nothing scares you. Even getting judged doesn't scare you. Paul says a similar thing. Paul says, I'm not even afraid of being judged. He says, mind you, I don't say I'm innocent, but my conscience isn't reproaching me with anything right now. So I'm not afraid to go to Jesus. I can't say that. So it's good for me to have some fear. Hopefully, mostly filial fear, because I don't want to offend him anymore. But even the lesser and more immature fear is good as a beginning, because I don't want to go to hell. So remember this one, especially in regard, because all of our talks this week are about meeting Jesus, coming to Jesus. You should be scared to be in his presence. Not because he's the judge, but although that, if you have to start there, start there. He is going to judge you. He said, I'm going to make you answer for every idle word, and you're going to pay back the last penny. That means you either do it here or the next time, which means purgatory. You know, people in purgatory are already winners. They're God's friends. But they didn't make up for all their sins, what they owed for the injustice for their sins. That should scare you. And if some of you are still flirting with mortal sin, that should really scare you. But then there's this. Well, is he just or is he merciful? He's both. And he's both all the time. There's distinctions to be made. In this world, he can be merciful. Once you've died, you've lost your will. There's no more freedom to choose anymore. So you only can get justice. That should scare you. But none of us are dead right now. Trust in his mercy, and remember his justice. And when you come up to receive him, make an act of faith. I know that's not a piece of bread. I know that's not just a thing. It's a capital T thing, a divine thing. It's God himself. That should be a little scary. Again, not because he's tough and just, but because he's holy. And if we had an idea of what holy is, we would be like those saints, those prophets, and Our Lady who are like this. When creatures that are spirits, that are Holy Spirits, the angels show up, and we're in the presence of God, we want to develop that healthy fear and get to the point where eventually it all evaporates. The immature, afraid of punishment, servile fear, and the mature fear. So we get like the saints. And we won't have to face, we won't be afraid of judgment. We won't have to worry about purgatory. Anybody that loves like these people do, the way you're supposed to love. And it's something you have to get to. You don't just usually turn around overnight. You won't have to fear anything. And you'll be completely at peace when Jesus comes. And you'll look in the eyes, you won't go, you'll run into his arms. And he'll take you home. Show him more reverence. Show him some more holy fear while you're walking around Montague and Whitehall and Michigan, especially in the churches, but in other people. Show him reverence and fear him. But ask him to turn your fear day by day a little more into mature fear, filial fear, finally no fear at all, just love. Because that's what his love is for you. Everybody saw these tables when they came in. These things, Fathers of Mercy, the missionaries sell to put our guys through the seminary. I've got 3 out there. The 2 big ones are a mission series. The one we're doing now, My Flesh is Real Food, the Eucharistic series. That's $20. It's 5 talks. You're going to get 4 talks tonight, this week, because I'm here 4 days. But you're going to get some of the highlights from the 5th talk. But if you want the whole Megillah, $20. And even if you don't want it or need it, buy it and give it as a present to somebody that you want to annoy. And then there's this one. This one's called Fight the Fight, and it's about the spiritual combat, which is not like a lot of Christians think, which is legit. My emphasis is from a book called The Spiritual Combat by Lorenzo Scopoli. It's about the interior fight, not me fighting the world of flesh and the devil, or Muslims, or Democrats, or Republicans, whatever there is. No, the enemy's not out there. The enemy's in here. My enemy is Jimmy. I gotta take that sucker out. He's like the Terminator. I shoot him, I blow his head up. Guess what? Next morning he's back again. So that was about spiritual combat. And then this one is $5. Those two are both 20. This one's $5. It's my conversion story. But that's only for adults. And then also, I know some of you probably weren't here, or you were one of the masses when I did my typical Father Jim thing. I forgot to ask people to sign up for a holy hour. This is the whole point of my being here. You have some adoration, Eucharistic adoration going on already, 92 hours a week. I think that's right, isn't it, Mary? 92? If you will, please consult the Holy Spirit and ask Him to help you to pick 1 hour out of 168 in every week to be alone with Jesus, or maybe not alone. Hopefully there'll be 1 or 2 other adorers with you in the chapel. This week I'll be talking about what a holy hour is, what you do in the holy hour. But if it's news to you, or if you've done it before but you're slacked off, start it or restart it. And if you've never done it, this is the time. So please, these are just outside the door, just in the center of the door, these forms. Pick a 6-hour block out of a 24-hour day, and the coordinators will get to you, and you'll figure out something that fits into your schedule. But the busiest man and the most preoccupied woman here can find 1 hour in 168 a week to just drop everything except to be quiet with Jesus. And also grab one of these, help you to make your confession. I'm sorry I have to leave so many people waiting. I got here about 6, but there was a big crowd, so remember that when you come in this week. Get here earlier or stay later, or get a hold of me and let's make time when it's just me and you for confession. But don't let me get away without making a confession, especially if you've been away for a while.
Blessed be your glorious Assumption.
May the heart of Jesus and the most blessed sacraments of the altar be praised, adored, and loved with grateful affection at every moment in all the tabernacles of the world, even until the end of time. Amen. I'll be the confessional in 1 minute.